Hi, in this episode I'll be talking to my friend Autumn Blum. She's a cosmetic chemist who saw an opportunity to create products that are not only safe for us as divers, but also safe for everything in the ocean. Over at BREW, Autumn talks about how she's managed her Stream2Sea company through the COVID crisis and her love for the ocean. Do you fancy a brew?
How you doing?
I like that. Fancy a brew. I would very much like a brew, but all I have is water.
Oh, I've got a proper brew, me.
You had a good day so far? I guess it's not very late there, is it?
No, it's only 2 o'clock, but it's late enough for if things were going to come crashing down, they probably would have by now. So I think we're good.
Happy days. Yeah. So Autumn, welcome to Fancy a Brew podcast. Thanks for coming.
It is my pleasure.
If you could give us a little bit of a rundown about you and what's going on, and then we'll see how we get on from there. How's that?
Sure, sounds good, Andy. So obviously I'm a diver. I've been diving as long as I can remember. I remember my dad throwing a pony bottle on me when I was about 5 years old and said, go scrub the algae off the bottom of the pool, right? So breathing underwater, I always said was my superpower. Growing up, I studied chemistry in college. And at that point, that was when my diving career kind of slowed down, right? I'm studying and working hard, and then I'm trying to make a living and pay rent. And then I started a little company, and there was no time for diving anymore, and worked my rear end off. When I was about 35, I sold that business, and for the first time since I was an adult, I had available time and a little bit of available money, so I started diving again. And that was when I saw an oil slit coming off a group of snorkelers in Palau. Now, my previous career, current career, I'm a cosmetic chemist. That's what I studied in college and started my first business on. And I see this sunscreen slit coming off a group of snorkelers. I'm like, oh man, that's not good, right?
Yeah.
And then I got on the boat and I saw we were all showering and the suds runs right overboard. And they're pearlescent and fragrant. And I'm envisioning like Nemo down under the water going, I can't breathe, right?
Yeah.
And that was the first time that I really thought about how the products that I could make could impact the environment. And when I came back from that trip, I knew what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And that was creating stuff that's safe for us and safe for our waters. And now, of course, I get to dive a whole lot more too.
Well, that's even better. Then that's a massive plus, isn't it? So, what kind of cosmetics were you making beforehand then?
Herbal skincare. So mostly, I was focusing on products for people with bad skin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with the neem tree, but it's from India, and I started a product line based on the neem tree, pretty much right out of college.
Yeah.
And spent most of my time making, herbal toothpaste. I made some herbal supplements. I spent a lot of time playing over in India. Had a little organic farm over there, and made herbal skincare for people with either acne or psoriasis or eczema.
Have you always been that sort of environmentally aware then, with using more herbal sort of not recipes, but you know what I mean, blends or whatever, to sort of create that kind of sustainability and environmentally friendly sort of idea?
Yeah, so I've always called myself a natural products cosmetic chemist. So I don't make the things that you'd buy. The demographics are shifting today. You can find natural and herbal stuff in the mainstream, but most of my products in the past were found in the health food stores and the herbalists and places like that. So if you go into Whole Foods, there's well over 100 products on the shelf that I've either formulated or I've had my fingers in the creation of.
Yeah.
And, so that's my history.
So in respect of testing, I mean, we all know, I'm 40 years old now, so I remember the tales of monkeys being tested, eyelashes being put on them and all that. So in that respect, is that kind of towards that sort of testing? Is the testing a friendlier thing for the organic and sort of herbal remedy products?
Yeah. That's actually a great question, and that's really a good segue into our water environment. So back in 2000, the late 2000s, I was one of the original signers of the Campaign for Safe Cosmetics.
Yeah.
That's the Leaping Bunny program. You flip over a bottle and it says cruelty free.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there in a room talking about, with all of these cosmetic formulators and brand managers, talking about how you don't need to test on a bunny to find out if something's going to burn our eyes. I mean, we've got enough history there. I know how to make a lotion that's not going to burn a kid, and a mascara that's not going to.
Well, I should imagine you've got a product list there, haven't you?
Yeah.
Of stuff
exactly.
You know exactly that will do exactly this.
Exactly. I mean, the history's there. But when it comes to fish, it's not there. I mean, who knows what's going to hurt a fish or what's going to hurt a coral or what's going to hurt phytoplankton. There's no history. It just doesn't exist.
No.
So when I came back from that trip, I'm sitting there thinking about it. Well, I can make stuff that's safe for us. I can make stuff that's safe for bunnies. What's going to be safe for a fish? I really had no idea. And I'm a passionate animal advocate. I mean, I have 6 dogs. I live on a farm. It's anybody, if you show up and you've got 4 legs, I'm going to feed you. I might feed you 2, but I'm definitely going to feed you if you have 4.
You sound like my mother-in-law and my wife.
Yeah, I got my dog sleeping over there. That's a rescue.
You've nicely, we'll use this term segue about 20 times, I reckon. You've nicely jumped the gun there, because I see, certainly on your website, you've got, very similar to my business, you've got little pictures of everyone who works for you, and then you've also got Chewy and Max. But then if you read any deeper, you've got about, you might as well be called Noah, because you've got that many animals there, haven't you?
Yeah, it's true. I do love my animals.
So a free box of eggs is always optional, isn't it, when you turn up at yours, I say?
The UPS driver gets eggs here. I mean, what do you do with all these eggs? We have so many chickens. What do you do with them? I eat a lot of eggs.
Well, my mother-in-law, she's very much, there was a program back in the 80s called A Good Life, and there was 2 people, and it was all self-sufficient. They had little allotments, and everything was grown at home and whatever. And my in-laws, they lived that good life. They've got their own chickens, and they've got their own fields, everything. So, and they're trying to sell the house at the minute and advertise that it's organic, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's literally, they've had it for 30 years and not one drop of pesticide has been put down anywhere.
Awesome.
But nobody seems that interested in it. It's not a selling point just yet.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it'd totally be a selling point for me, probably for you too, and a lot of your listeners. But no, it's interesting. It's like we're conveniently natural.
Yeah.
If something's convenient, we'll go that way. If it's not, I mean, how much are you going to pull out of your wallet? I don't know. I think that's starting to shift, especially in the dive community. I think that we're much more in tune to our environment. We're in tune to the oceans. Anybody that's spent a lot of time in the water for more than the last couple of years, we're seeing the changes out there.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why I focus on the dive industry so much, because we're the voices of the sea, right? We're the protectors of the ocean. We see it. And
well, that was a question I've got written here. What do you think kick-started that big change? But certainly for us over in the UK, David Attenborough, he's highlighted what's going on in the ocean.
Yeah, right.
What do you think overall has made the biggest impression to turn society that way, to be more protected? Certainly in the Western world, anyway.
Yeah. There's that saying, you protect what you love. Jacques Cousteau said it the best, right?
Yeah.
It's you protect what you love. And knowledge is everything. If you see it, that's why it's so important to get more people in the water, get more people to see it. Seeing the animals, seeing the dolphins. And if you can't, programs like Sharks for Kids, experiencing it's not all Jaws, right? I think that David Attenborough and having Blue Planet and the BBC and all of these reports out there where we can see what's going on in the ocean, awareness is everything. We all have that tie-in, right? We're all in love with the ocean, and anything we can do to protect it, we want to.
Absolutely.
So here's one for you. Someone I think we both sort of know. It's a guy called Fernando Rees. I did an episode with a couple of weeks ago. And
it was all about how the European Union are trying to ban the import and exportation of shark finning. So shark finning is illegal.
Right.
The movement of them isn't. And I was shocked at that. Really shocked, because I think, and I asked him this question, why do we need loads of people to sign a petition to stop governments doing it? And I didn't realise the actual sort of kickbacks. It's almost like moving cocaine, isn't it?
It's interesting. I wrote that down the way you said that. The movement of the shark fins isn't, because in the United States, it's of course banned. At least the CITES species are banned from being finned. I think they all should, but regardless.
Yeah.
So, but the transport, FedEx is the only carrier that's still allowing the transport of the shark fins. So even though I could use FedEx and save 12% on my shipping bill, which is huge. Won't touch them with a 10-foot pole. No way. I use UPS just because they don't allow shark fin transport.
I just don't get it. There's some things in the world are just sort of stupid, really just crazy. Yeah. And I don't know. There's some people are just nuts, aren't they?
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. So let's have a look at what I've got written down here. So when was your last dive? When were you last in the water?
I was in the water last weekend. I went diving on the Spiegel Grove. My fun dives, I throw on the rebreathers, and we go down just a little bit further than recreational limits where all the lost dive gear lives. So it's kind of like the modern day treasure hunting. We're up to like 64 GoPros we found on the sand. We buy lost weight belts and fleece up the dive gear a little bit and send them up periodically. But it's just kind of fun. So we grab the scooters and the rebreathers and do sand sweeps, and you never know what's going to turn up down there.
That's amazing. There's a guy, you might know him now. He's from your sort of neck of the woods. The Almighty, he's called on YouTube. I'm trying to think what his actual name, Jake. And he's got like 10 million followers on YouTube, and all he does is go around riverbeds and just with a little metal detector. And he's always the same, 38 iPhone 11s, and it's like, mate, I'm sure he's planting them. But if you're down at 60 odd meters or whatever that is in feet, I'm sure you're not just taking half a dozen GoPros for a laugh.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, you've got great creatures that show up down there too. This last weekend, I mean, there was a loggerhead turtle that I think he had the hots for me. He was coming over trying to get all snuggly, and then we had a couple of sharks come by, and Goliath groupers down there, and you never know what's going to come by. They're always bigger down deep.
Right. So how long have you been on your rebreather?
I've been, I guess, 6 years now. Right. I started diving at Poseidon and upgraded to the Megalodon, the Baby Meg is what I call the Pathfinder. So that's what I'm diving now.
What was the reason for your transition? Was it because you were not so much chasing depth, but there was something down there to see, or because I've seen you've got a camera as well? So
yeah, I was going to say there's two reasons for it. One is I fancy myself an underwater photographer, and you definitely I fancy myself. Digital photography makes it great. I can take 1,000 pictures and delete 980 of them. I'm like, hey,
could you imagine going in with film now and 36 exposures?
No, I love talking to the old timers, right? The gurus that say, "Oh yeah, we went down. And I had 35 shots to get." I'm like, "Yeah, I took 600 on that incredible dive. How could you choose 35?" Right. But that's the reason why I originally started diving the rebreather was I wanted to get close to the wildlife, and I absolutely did. I mean, as soon as I started diving bubble free, they're not afraid of you. And then as it evolved, I wanted to be able to, increase my oxygen content and stay down longer and go a little bit deeper. So I don't think you go deep for the sake of going deep, but if there's something down there you want to see, which I did, there was a wreck in our area that I wanted to check out. The only way to really do it was with Trimix, and that's kind of the evolution.
Yeah, but it's so expensive now, isn't it, helium? That it just kind of it's an easy transition over time if you balance that equation. It's certainly get a breather.
Yeah, if you're only going to do it once or twice, throw on the doubles and down you go. But if it's something you're going to do on any bit of a regular basis, absolutely. I mean, it's way more economical.
I'm still on the fence. I'd love to, purely for the training, if nothing else.
Right.
Because the kind of diving we do, I've no need for it whatsoever, other than taking my camera in. But how can I word it? But my wife is not at that point. A, that she wants a rebreather. Mm-hmm. B, that she's got the money for it. So I'll have to buy two. or C, that she wants to spend that amount of time hanging around. And the vis is so poor around here as well.
Yeah.
That it's kind of defeats the object in many. If I was to move near somewhere like where you live in Florida,
right?
Clearly you've got beautiful water there. So I think there'll become a time when it's right, and I'll know it's right, and it'll be kind of worth it then. But to have £7,000 or £8,000 just sat on the shelf in my garage,
not worth it. Not worth it.
At
And
all.
it's like a boat or a car. You don't buy them to just sit them. If you sit them, they go to hell anyway.
Yeah.
And same thing with your own skills. I mean, you have to be able to use it. Otherwise, that's when people start getting hurt. They haven't dove in 4 months and decide to go do a deep, long dive. Wrong answer.
Right. Well, that nicely segues me on to how did you deal with the lockdown period of COVID?
I cried a lot. Yeah, I cried a lot. Very salty tears. I said hello to my rebreather every time I walked by it, sitting there in storage.
Have you not got a pool in your back garden? You could have got.
Yeah, sat in the bottom of my pool. Did that a little bit. Cleaned the algae spots.
Yeah.
Threw on my dry suit just for the fun of it.
Well, not wanting to jump the gun and not talk too much about your business yet, but clearly that must have been a big deal. That the travel industry and people being out holidaying and all the rest of it with the product that you sell. That must have been a bit worrying.
Yeah, it was really the scariest business situation I've ever found myself in. We were, Stream2Sea is still a young company. We just finished 4 years in the marketplace, and we're just kind of getting there, right? I mean, the divers, they're behind us and they understand and they get it, but we're just kind of starting to get out beyond the dive industry a little bit. And we got into a couple of the cruise lines. Richard Branson endorsed our product, and that was just
No
huge,
way.
right? He put our white sunscreen on his nose. It was so cool. We got our products on Virgin Voyages. We got it on Princess and a few other cruise lines, and we were really gearing up. I bought a new production facility. This building that we're in. We bought this beginning of last year and spent 6 months getting it operational for this summer. And then COVID hits, and we literally, it was like overnight, we had over $300,000 worth of canceled orders. I'm like, what do you do? I have 13 employees. I mean, how do you keep paying them? I can't
sell your rebreather.
No! Bite your tongue. Yeah, that didn't come into my mind. It didn't get quite that bad, but we were able to shift really, really fast. And that was, Andy, that was probably the best thing that could have happened to us. I found some alcohol. And when all this happened, the alcohol supply dried up. But I'd been to an auction a couple of weeks earlier, and I noticed they had a bunch of alcohol kicking around. I'm like, God, I wonder why they had all this alcohol. Well, when this happened, I called him and I said, hey, remember that auction you guys had? Do you still have that alcohol? Yeah, we got 20 barrels. May I buy them immediately, please? Now, come get them. We were able to ship within 6 days. We had our sanitizer on the market. From being able to source the alcohol to getting it on the market, it was really fast.
Mega.
And then it saved our rear ends. We made a really good product. We were able to get it out quickly, and people needed it. And our tribe supported us.
Is that something you think you'll continue doing alongside Stream2Sea?
Andy, I didn't realize how I'd never really thought of sanitizer and that really the household cleaners. It's a wonderful evolution, I guess, for Stream2Sea. Common sanitizers all have microplastics in them. They have, the gel, they all have carbamur, which is considered a microplastic. They use all sorts of quaternary ammonium compounds, which are really hazardous to the environment, not to mention us, but really rough stuff. I mean, their job is to kill most of these sanitizer ingredients, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol does too. If we were to dump a whole bunch of alcohol into a tank, it probably would have some pretty good aquatic toxicity too. But the nice thing about the alcohol versus the other sanitizers out there is it dissipates quick. It doesn't accumulate. It doesn't stick around. So if you've got to kill some bugs, in my opinion, this is absolutely the best way to do it. So it really is a nice fit for Stream2Sea. We made a good product. Our customers love it. It doesn't dry out your hands, hurt your skin. It doesn't hurt our environment. So yeah, it's definitely got a home in our product line from here on out.
Mega. I mean, that comes as news today that River Thames down in London, that's been voted or been doing some kind of study. It's one of the most polluted rivers of microplastics in the world. I mean, granted, it's a big city, but I think if you can to compare it to a lot certainly in the US, it's not that big a city, but it just happens to have a river running through that quite a lot of water sort of effluent flows in. That's terrible, isn't it? So
I thought of microbeads. Yeah, I mean, you'd thought about microbeads, and of course, we banned those. Those are here no more. But where else are these microplastics coming from? Well, the fibers from our synthetic fabrics.
Yeah.
When you use the rash guards in the water, especially we have a marine recycled plastic rash guard. Well, the recycled plastics are great, but they break down easier than the standard. So it's actually a double. It's kind of, you got a blessing and a curse. You're reusing plastic, but it's more inclined to release microfibers, which are microplastics. So we're out here trying to educate people. Yes, use these ingredients, use these fabrics, but don't throw them in your washing machine. Hand wash them. If you hand wash them, you don't throw off all those microplastics. If you throw it in the washing machine, it just goes right out into the waste and into this lovely river that is not so lovely anymore.
I bet you it's been 20 years since I've done any hand washing.
Yeah, well, time to start, man.
I'm on it tonight. I'll go buy.
Your cotton's good. You're okay with your cotton shirt, right?
Well, I hope it is, because this is from Fourth Element. So I'm hoping because they're going down this mission 2020.
Yeah, they're my heroes.
Having no plastics whatsoever. I just need to check my label now. Can you see it?
No. Oh, I can kind of, they're doing great work out there in the world. They're actually introducing our sanitizer over in the UK, which is, I'm honored.
Well, I mean, certainly I've seen it not only advertised on a lot of like the Facebook pages and Instagram and all the rest of it. It was nice to see it at the dive show in February, the one in the UK. So it's sort of hitting the shelves as such, certainly for our community more.
Yeah.
And I had this with Sarah Richard from Girls at Scuba the other day, that because she's done this waste-free world, and it's all like, you know, no plastics and all the rest of it, different razors and all this kind of stuff. And my question to her was, I wonder why the sort of big retail outlets, so we've got like Asda, Tesco, much like your Walmart and stuff like that, why are these not buying into these products now? You know, getting rid of the plastic toothbrushes and disposable razors that surely, you know, it's such a big worldwide issue that's, you know, they could be the leaders, the market leaders, and people who, like me and you, are actually got an interest in it, would go to them for that product, and they'd sell out, you'd assume, wouldn't you?
You would think.
But it's just not, it's just too easy to carry on, isn't it, for some of them?
I think it's starting, Andy, and it takes the consumer drive. Anybody that doesn't believe that they can make a difference, I mean, the consumer votes with their wallets, right? You choose to buy that Fourth Element T-shirt costs more than what you could get at that market, but you like it, you wear it with pride. You know, it's good for the planet, it's good for your body, it feels good, it's good quality, and you choosing to buy better products, you might pay 20 or 30% more, you know, but it's better quality, it's worth it. Some things are worth spending a little bit more for, and there's more of us that are feeling that way. And I think the bigger companies are starting to pay attention. You know, Walmart put something out that's over here in the States, right? Walmart put something out on their drive for sustainability. They want to actually look at the supply chain of the things they're purchasing now. That's huge. You know, it's little steps will add up.
I hope so. Because
I hope so too.
It does take a little bit more than David Attenborough to do a couple of programs.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Buying, you know, the buyer has the power, but I think on the flip side, we need to have the opportunity to buy those products from that retailer. And if they start introducing them, then we're almost there, aren't we?
Some of us will go out of our way to make the right choice. The mainstream will make the right choice if it's right there in front of them, nice and convenient. And one step at a time, I guess.
Yeah. So tell us more about Stream2Sea then. Obviously, I know that you've gone through the build up to it, but tell me exactly what's going on with it, the different products you have and whatnot.
Yeah. So Stream2Sea, you know, I started it to create performance-based products, which basically, when I say performance-based, that means things that work. That are safe for our bodies as well as safe for our oceans. I had spent the last 20 years of my career making products that were safe for our bodies, but thinking about how these products will impact the environment as well. I wasn't willing to compromise in the performance space. In the natural products industry, you'll find a lot of healthy consumers that'll go buy shampoos and such at their salon, but buy their organic natural foods at the health food store. You know, and that's because they don't believe that the natural stuff will work quite as good. So my goal with Stream2Sea was to create products that worked every bit as well as a mainstream product. They may be a little different. They definitely are a little different, but they're going to work. You know, if you want to wear a sun cream, you're not going to get sunburn. It is different. You have to learn how to apply it properly. Most people, did you see the thing on Mark Zuckerberg wearing way too much mineral-based sunscreen yesterday?
No, tell me.
It's going viral. So this Mark, he put on way too much and he looks like a clown, right?
Yeah.
Most people, the first time they use a mineral-based sunscreen, they apply too much.
Right.
So while everybody's making fun of him, I'm like, I want to high five the guy, right? Rock the light, man. It's all right. It's not going to burn your eyes. It's not going to hurt your skin. It's not going to hurt the environment. You don't have to look silly. You don't have to apply that much.
No.
So there is an educational factor involved there, but I'm digressing. Anyway, so we make Reef-Safe sunscreens and body care products. We have shampoo, conditioner, body lotion, a sun and sting gel. The sun and sting gel is amazing for any of the little stinging cells in our oceans. It's also good for mosquito bites and fire ants and things like that.
Great.
And then we also have the sanitizers now that we've segued into. And we're also looking at making some other products that will go along with that line. So we're working on like a wetsuit wash. We're working on a boat wash. Some other household cleaners, laundry soap, things of that nature too.
Nice. Well, that was something I was thinking about when I was writing my sort of little list of things to ask. We were on a liveaboard last year in the Red Sea.
Nice.
And on one of the dives on our sort of safety stop, we were dangling on the anchor line where they have a flag to tell you what the boat is that was in the water. And while we were there, some bright spark, or it was automated, not really sure, the sluice tank decided to empty on top of us. So you can imagine all the poo particles raining down and all the rest of it.
Oh, no.
So there's two parts to this story. Firstly, when we got out and complained, they came pouring Dettol all over us to decontaminate us. But in that, I would assume must be all the washing water from like the shower. And then when I'm rinsing my whatever it might be, I might have, I don't know, having a shave on the boat. Clearly, I don't really shave that often.
Yeah, me either.
But there'll be like shaving foam going down the sink. There'll be toothpaste going down the sink, and all be, I'm assuming, held in this tank till the point that it reaches full. Now, what they tell me is normally when they're chugging along, so not above a dive site, they will normally just sluice it out into the sea, which is bad enough, I get. But then if they're doing it on top of the reef, on top of divers, not so good. But the products that we're using there, they must be detrimental. If the River Thames is really bad right now because all that same stuff's going in, it must be horrific on these beautiful dive sites around the Red Sea and then around the world. So these big ferries or the big ocean liners that have got hundreds of thousands of people on them, they're like floating cities, aren't they? I can only imagine the amount of crap that they're dumping out there.
Absolutely.
So our sort of shower gels and all that, are they as detrimental then as the sunscreen we would use?
In my opinion, more so, Andy. So when I started Stream2Sea, this was in 2014, and all the studies about sunscreen toxicity came out in 2015. So when I started this, I thought sunscreens were going to be bad. I mean, I saw that oil slick sitting on the surface over that beautiful, healthy reef and plow, and it's like, oh my God, that can't be good. But I didn't really know. I didn't know that sunscreen was going to be that harmful, but I did know that shampoo was. I mean, everybody that's using like baby shampoo for their defog, right? Yeah. Shampoo, the most common ingredients in shampoo, sodium lauryl and lauryl sulfate, they use those as the standard for aquatic toxicity in a lot of the tox labs. If you want to kill fish in a tank, just throw a little sodium lauryl sulfate in there. They're dead. You know, so yeah, no, the ingredients, I love that people are thinking about their sunscreen usage, and especially in concentrated areas. You know, when you go to the Caribbean, some of these islands out there, and any place where you dump off all these snorkelers and tourists in one concentrated area, you know, the sunscreen's a huge issue. But there's probably a whole lot more shampoo being used on those boats than sunscreen, really. I mean, it's all of it. It's everything that we're putting on our bodies, thinking about the end use, what happens to it.
Yeah, well, you can see I'm really fur-haired. You know, I've got really light skin, so I have to wear sunscreen an awful lot. Certainly out at sea, around the ocean, the sea around Egypt, it's red hot and it's gleaming every day.
Sure.
I mean, I need some with this light on, let alone when a full moon's on. But I'll be honest, I didn't wear an awful lot because 90% of the time I was in a wetsuit.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time I was either in the cabin,
doing
some photo editing, or I'd be under a shade because I don't like the heat an awful lot, although I like to be warm when I'm in the water.
Mm-hmm.
But the sun, I know I'm never going to have dark skin.
Right.
So there's no point me getting in the sun. I wear a bit, but not an awful lot.
Yeah. No, good on you.
I certainly do shower quite regularly, probably twice a day, or maybe even more when I was there, because you wee in your wetsuit and all the rest of it, don't you?
No, not you. You wouldn't.
No. So to that end, I was probably doing more harm now I think about it. So I think a big message to get out to people is that using the products we're using when we're at sea is horrific. You can take the stance about you're only going to eat plant-based foods and you're only going to use this sunscreen, but actually you're going to use a particular kind of wash, you know, whether it be on your mask or for your hair or whatever. It's horrific, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to make sure you're bringing only eco-conscious products out there with you. I advocate for using safe products at home, but most definitely, if you're out playing on our oceans, read the ingredients. There's so much marketing fluff out there today. There's so many products saying that they're reef-safe and biodegradable and natural and clean and green, but flip over the bottle. You know, read those ingredients. If you see things like sodium lauryl sulfate, if you see avobenzone and octocrylene and methylene propylparaben, I mean, put it back on the shelf. Number one, don't put it on your body. Don't do that to you, your temple. But number two, don't put it in our waters, right?
Is that why my skin's so dry? Or is it because I wash my hands every 5 minutes?
Yeah, that could do it. But you have lovely skin. I mean, going back to what you said about not wearing sunscreen all the time. I mean, I have a sunscreen company, and I advocate for doing exactly what you did. Wear a rash guard, put a hat on, put your sunglasses on. See that nose of yours? Put some sunscreen on your nose.
Yeah, I noticed that today. It's been sunny today. My big massive nose has been stuck out.
Yeah, right. That's where I always get sunburned. It's really embarrassing if you have a sunscreen company and your nose gets sunburned. So I have to make sure I apply that. But
I'm terrible.
No, I mean,
I've got proper. Well, look how white my shoulders are to my arms.
Yeah, yeah. I would be that way, but I've been stuck inside so much I don't even have a tan line anymore.
Nice.
But definitely, I mean, minimize your usage. What you do put on, make sure it's safe.
What about, like, I don't want to name drop anybody, but what happens, like, I know a lot of girls who have long hair and then they'll wear a hood. So they'll tie all their hair up in like a ponytail or plait it or whatever, but they'll perhaps put shampoo or conditioner on beforehand so it detangles.
Right.
I think you do a product like that, don't you?
Yeah, you bet. So my hair is a little bit short right now, but normally, I mean, up until recently, it was pretty long as well, and it's thick and curly. And you know, you go on a dive and you put the hood on, and you just come up and you got a rat's nest. The second product that I made was a leave-in conditioner, and I did that as a defense mechanism. I needed it, and it's got UV protectors in there. It's tested and proven safe. It works brilliantly. So our friend Sarah over at Girls That Scuba, I think they've been our biggest advocates for helping to get it out there in the world. And bless their heart, I love them. So
what have you got next that you can talk about that's not sort of sneaky beaky that the Russians won't have already found out?
Oh yeah,
they're into everything now, aren't they?
You know, so there's two things that we've been working on. One is, again, the sanitizer, because there's so much waste being generated with the COVID, you know, all the PPE waste and such. And
it's terrible, isn't it? Like all these masks and gloves everywhere. Everyone's gone through this. Don't use single-use plastics. And then all of a sudden, we've got gloves on everywhere.
Right. And it's the same people because, oh my God, the world's dirty and scary and gross, right? So we're using our sanitizer, and we had sanitizer available. We sold it in 16-ounce, 32-ounce, 16-ounce, and 2-ounce bottles. And people are ordering like 24 bottles on our website when this came out. And I'm like, I'm picking up the phone and calling them and saying, are you buying for a business? Is this for like a really large family, a gathering? Oh, no, I just want to make sure I have enough. Well, can I send you a 32-ounce bottle in one of these little bottles and you just keep refilling it, right? Nice. Oh, that's a great idea. So when we told them and called them out on it, they did that. But their instinct was just to buy a bunch. So one of the products we just launched is a refillable sanitizer, and it's a really sexy little dispenser. And if I was smart and savvy, I would have one sitting right here in front of me to show you. But let's see, looking around. No, I think I gave my last one to the person that came by earlier. Anyway, so we have a little refillable, and it's pretty, and it can go in your pocket or it can go in your purse, and you can refill it. Yeah. So I'm excited about that just for the education side. Teach people that you don't have to just throw everything away.
Well, I've seen, I forget what product it is now. It'll be some kind of household cleanser. It might be like something you put in your washing machine or something. I forget now. But it comes in quite a small bottle that you put in your big bottle, and then you just add water. I love it. It might be like a kitchen spray or something. I forget now. But it just seems like an absolutely phenomenal idea.
Right. I'm seeing these things out there. The majority of cleaners are like 90% water. Yeah. So sell them the concentrate. They're afraid that nobody's going to spend $5 for this little concentrate when you can spend $5 for this big bottle. But it's just water. You're just buying the bottle and buying the water. So I think that's a great idea. The other thing we're working on is a refillable sunscreen stick. So the sunscreen, the way to make minerals spread better is to add oil to it. Well, there's a balance with oil because, you know, I put something oily on my face and my mask slips all over the place. So I don't want that. I would rather have the less oily product that's going to hold on there. And that's our original. But there's a lot of people that want a stick format. And we found a way to make this stick spread really well and not be greasy and not make my mask slip. So then it's on the packaging side. It's really hard to find a package that is sustainable. Everybody's going for these little cardboard tubes. And I love that. I love the biodegradability aspect. But think about throwing a biodegradable tube into your dive bag, right? It's going to biodegrade before you get home from your trip. That's no good. So we've managed to get this. We had to develop it, a stick where it's made out of 100% post-consumer recycled plastic. And then it's got an insert that comes out. And that insert is also made out of recycled plastic. But it's reducing the amount of waste by about 80%. And
Yeah.
you just refill that insert instead of the whole thing.
That's
So
great.
that we should have launched before the end of the year. We would have had it out already if this nasty bug hadn't have thrown a monkey wrench into our whole world. But I'm excited about that one too.
Nice one. How has it affected the sort of dive community in Florida?
Oh man, my heart breaks for the dive operators here. They miss summer break, spring break. They miss most of the summer season. The dive boats are open in most of the areas now. They're running trips, but they're running trips mostly at half capacity. So even if they're going out, they're only getting half the revenue that they had before. It's hard. I mean, I'm kind of grateful for the reefs. I think it was probably nice for them to get a little bit of a breather from all of us hanging out on her so much. But on the other hand, it's been really hard for the operators. As soon as this lets up, everybody needs to come visit and go diving.
Have you had sort of much support from the government? Because we have. Certainly, I'm only self-employed, so I'm not a company. I'm just a sort of business, me trading as whatever I do. And as a self-employed person, over the last 3 or 4 years, I forget what it was, the government gave you back 80% of what, of an average of them 4 years. So that was quite good for that 3 or 4 months. But how have you managed to sustain that other than obviously your alcohol thing as a business?
Yeah, that's pretty clever. I wish that we had a format like that over here. Instead, I think the government just wrote checks to everybody that was the exact same amount. And it was hard to find employees because the government was giving them more money to stay home, it seemed, than to come to work. Wow. So when we were growing like crazy and trying to keep up with the demand, I had a really hard time finding staff. But no, the government helped us quite a bit with initially the sanitizer, for example. The regulatory hurdles, it would have taken me about 6 months to launch a sanitizer if I was working hard at it with the typical regulations in place. And the government eased up a lot of those regulations to allow small businesses. Like we're already an FDA drug manufacturing facility. We make sunscreen, which is regulated as a drug here. So we were able to shift over legally into manufacturing sanitizer without all of the red tape that we normally would have had. So that was great. And then there was the payroll protection. They gave I think on our side, it was like a $50,000 loan. So it covered like 6 weeks worth of payroll for us to encourage us not to lay off staff, which was brilliant because it allowed me to buy a whole bunch of alcohol and keep people employed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you went into that because I've seen so many businesses in the UK. Obviously every time we sat down for a meal at home, because we were at home all the time, we'd have the television on and listening to the news, whether it be Sky or BBC. And there was a local company to us that were gin. It was a gin distillery. And because there was no pubs open and no restaurants, they weren't really selling anything. So they just went, hand sanitizer, thanks very much.
Right, because they knew how to handle alcohol. I mean, alcohol's different. We had to learn. I mean, if you wanted 100,000 tubes of sunscreen, man, I could have made that for you, no problem. I mean, ramp it up, let's go. But 100,000 bottles, filling alcohol, handling alcohol is very different from handling sunscreen. The flammability side of it. The equipment was different.
Do you have to change much up then in your facility?
Yeah, we did. We had to get some new fillers really fast. Like my high-speed tube filler, right? Just cranking out these tubes. It uses hot air to seal that tube.
That'll be no good then.
So we're sitting there thinking about it. Well, hey, we'll get some tubes and we'll just fill sanitizer. And I'm like, no, guys, hot air, bad. Boom, no good. Right? So we definitely had to change an awful lot. Initially it was we have a single head filler, which is pneumatic. It runs on air, and so that little single head filler was really, really busy. And we scrambled and bought some more equipment real fast. And you think about the ventilation that you need. So we set up like Connex trailers to do the production because it's explosion proof and firewalls and all of that. Yeah, it was some really creative, fast shifting on our side, but awesome. I think it's made us stronger for it.
Have you managed to get hold of some more alcohol now then, as in like a sustainable amount, so you can just ramp it up and keep it going?
Yeah, so on the alcohol side, most of the alcohol that's now commercially available is called SDA 40B, which is denatured alcohol, and they're denaturing it with tert-butanol and denatonium benzoate. I had to do some research too. Bad ingredients, it's bad stuff.
Right.
And that's what's in most of the alcohol that's being put into sanitizers today.
Yeah.
Just because it's what's commercially available. So we were able to work with a local distillery that is fermenting the alcohol from orange peels. We're in the middle of Florida. It's the heartland. So there's a lot of orange juice around here. and they're fermenting the orange peels, and they're getting us a sustainable supply, which is beautiful. And then we're denaturing it, which
Yeah.
denaturing it just means making it so that people aren't going to drink it, right?
Yeah.
All the fun out of it, I know, but the government doesn't want us to put that out on the market.
No.
So we're denaturing it when it arrives with eucalyptus essential oil and camphor oil to make it not ingestible, but it boosts the efficacy to kill the bugs.
I like that. How I'm assuming that's like an orange juice company that have got all this orange peel spur.
Yeah.
I like that. It's just waste for them, isn't it? But if they actually do something good with it.
Right. So the orange juice plant is up front, and it's a big industrial factory. When you drive by, it's like, what the heck is that? And then you smell the orange juice, which is lovely. And then behind it is the alcohol distilling plant that they built. And they sell to a lot of, I guess, beverage companies is their primary market. They sell to a lot of rum companies.
Right.
And initially they said no, they wouldn't supply to us because I guess everybody and their brother was calling asking for alcohol. And I pulled some strings and talked to some people that knew some people and told them we were local, and I had a whole bunch of employees that were going to be really heartbroken if they didn't supply to us.
No way. Especially
being local. And we've developed a great relationship there. We can get it on demand as much as we need now.
It's phenomenal. I like that though. There's a show on the telly over in the UK. It's a BBC program. It's called Countryfile. It's on every Sunday evening, so kind of around when you're having Sunday roast dinner and all that. And it's all about different things to do with the countryside, clearly. Yeah. And one of them was there was a cider farm. So they make cider from apples.
Nice.
And when they finish squashing all these apple cores and whatever, they just go in and skip. So this guy who breeds rare breed pigs, he takes all these apple cores and feeds them to his pigs, which then taste better because they've got apples in them and that. So they're already like prepped.
Right.
That's a cracking idea. Why throw a load of stuff away if you can recycle it, whether it be organic or not?
Exactly. That's that triple bottom line, right? Using every bit of it, minimal waste.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. So let's move on to my exciting subject, which is underwater photography, because as much as I love it, it's probably the hardest part of my dive. So tell me what you do like and what you absolutely hate about underwater photography.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so backscatter. I hate backscatter. I mean, right. Lighting is everything. And when you don't have your strobes adjusted the right way and you get all these little, the snow in your light. I don't have the patience for macro. I admire macro. I love it. I see these black water night dives that people are doing, and oh my God, it's like aliens in the water. It's so cool. I don't have the patience for it. I like the big animal photography. I like going on the shark dives and the pop shots and just having your settings right and being able to adjust them on the fly. And I love my sharks and I love taking pictures of them.
I think you're lucky enough to be in an area that you're going to have them though, aren't you, really, compared to where I am. I'm going to get only backscatter. And we've got cat sharks that are probably sort of this big. They used to call them dogfish, and there's quite a few different names for them. But I got a cracking video. One on Saturday just gone. It kind of swam past us and came so close, but they've got a really bright red eye, and it's very cat-like in its shape. Whereas the shark's eye is quite round. This is almost like ours.
Cool.
But the big stuff near us, I think the closest we'll get to big stuff is sort of seals. And they are quite friendly on the sort of northeast coast of the UK. They'll come and nibble on your fins. Experience. It's almost like a dog. When a dog comes running up and you grab it by its head and its ears, the seal will do that for you.
I'm coming over. When can I come? When's it going to be safe to fly? I'm in.
You can, spare bedroom at our house anytime you want.
Awesome.
Just bring some shampoo and conditioner for my missus and we're all right.
Don't say it if you don't mean it, man, because I will show up.
All over it. Don't worry. I'm coming to Florida, though, one day. Well, again.
Yeah, you got it. I got the guest bedroom. Come on.
So whereabouts are you in Florida?
So right now, the factory, we're in the center of the state. So we're just south of Orlando. We're east of Tampa, kind of in that area.
Well, when I came over, I stayed at Kissimmee. So it's just south of Orlando, isn't it? Yeah.
There you go. So I'm an hour from Kissimmee. No problem. So it takes me about 2.5 hours to drive to the East Coast to Jupiter, which was one of my favorite places in the world to dive. There's a lot of sharks and the grouper aggregation and big fish over there. Yeah. So I love that. It takes 3.5 hours to drive down to the Keys, where my guy lives. So he's got a house down there, so it's kind of convenient. Anytime we can run away from the warehouse, we go down there. We got the little beach house and go diving down in the Key. And then it's about an hour and a half to the West Coast, which is Sarasota area where I grew up. And there's nice water there, but you have to go like 60 miles offshore to get into clear water, so I don't bother doing that.
No. We're hopefully, depending on how all this pandemic goes, we're off to Mexico in this early December.
Nice. What's in December in Mexico? The sailfish, right?
Yeah.
And the minnows.
I think the bull sharks might be doing something as well, from
Okay.
from another interview I had. But in fact, it was Fernando who told me about that. He wasn't 100%, but he thinks that's when it is. But so we're staying around Tulum, sort of that area.
Awesome.
And hopefully going to go over, do some cavern diving, because we're not cave qualified, although we've never had the opportunity to get into anything like this. So that might be the future.
Yeah.
What is the future of your diving then?
You know, same as what you just said on the cave diving. I love the training. In Florida, where I live, we're not too far from cave country, and diving the rebreather. I've done some training up there. I'm only cavern certified, and the tight spaces, it doesn't excite me.
No, me too.
The training, that's the best training in the world.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be going that direction, and then expanding on the trimix. You know, I'm mod 1 right now, and keep on going deeper, longer. Yeah, just refining the skills, getting more comfortable.
The thing for me, it's not the deeper and longer that scares me. The restrictions do. I'll be honest.
I don't like that.
Wrecks, I absolutely love them. You know, I could spend all day. That's the kind of photography I prefer. Right. The engineering side of things, rather than the fish do excite me. But if I had the choice, a reef or a wreck, I'd be on the wreck.
I go to the wreck too. I love the reefs, but I love the wrecks. I love the history of it. We went to Truck Lagoon last winter.
Oh, you never did.
Oh my God, it was amazing. You know what amazed me about Truck so much though? I didn't expect the reefs. I didn't expect the healthy coral. And these wrecks that are encrusted, and you still have oil coming out of it. No. They've got this coral that has thrived. And I mean, beautiful anemones and soft corals all over these wrecks. That surprised me. But going into the engine rooms, and I say I don't like little spaces, but there it was different. That made me want to do my cave training. Yeah, I think that if you're gonna sort of ask questions of yourself, it's going to be doing cave training, isn't it? If you're actually going to get the right answer, you're certainly going to be an amazing diver when you get out of that. But the restrictions don't float my boat. The lighting and what you can see, the speleology, that definitely floats my boat. But we'll see how we get on with this cavern, because I think the deciding factor will be after we've dived that and see how we get on with that. But it's not bad, and they don't take it. They're really, if you have a good cave instructor, it's very, you have to spend so much time at this level before you can move on. So it's not like you find yourself half a mile deep inside of a cave system, right? Yeah. It's not a speciality; it's a way of life almost, isn't it? Really, really, I think you're right. And they're all a little special. Those people that are really into cave diving, they're all a little different. Yeah. There's a guy near us, and they call him Mad Mark, because he just keeps going with hand grenades to this local pit somewhere, and he's digging underwater for half an hour, and he's on his own. Yeah. I've done a solo diver course. I love solo diving to a degree. Yeah. Certain things that make me nervous underwater, and in fact, it was 2 weeks ago. There was almost like a mist, but in the water, like a halocline, but not not a halocline. Thermocline? Like a sulfurcline. You see the changing colour in the water as opposed to a halocline. And it was really, really sort of eerie and spooky, and I kind of freaked out a little bit. I went, "No, I'm out. I'm going to turn around here. I'm going the other way." See, that's that wisdom there, right? So that'll make you a better diver, knowing when it's just like, I got this little voice inside my belly that's saying, and then listening to it, I'm going that way. You've got to, haven't you? You've got to be a proper attuned to everything that's going on, and if you're not, that's probably where stuff's going to start going wrong, isn't it? Yeah, and being one with your gear. I mean, really knowing what's keeping you alive there. That. I have a lot of people that tell me that, oh, you're a daredevil, a thrill seeker. I'm like, no, not at all. I'll go down to 180, 200 feet, no problem. But I have redundancy upon redundancy, and I've gone through my drills. I've done my visualization. I mean, no, I'm not being reckless. I don't want to die. I like my life. Well, that's kind of what I was saying before, though, about going deeper. Yeah. For me, I just get hungry on the way back up. I've got a P valve, so that's fine. Right. To some end, you can even have a drink, can't you, on the way back up? You could have a juice bottle hanging on the line, couldn't you? Yeah. And have a slurp out of it. But I'd get hungry. So you'd have to send a habitat down and someone bring down a McDonald's or something for me. It'd be horrendous. So as far as really long decompression for me, until I get rid of this
need for food, it's
Right.
probably not going to happen.
No, and that's probably I know like deco dives when you're just hanging out at 60 feet and 40 feet and 30 feet. You're hanging out at 30 feet for like 60 minutes.
Oh,
If you're on top of a reef or a wreck and you got something to see, that's awesome.
yeah.
But just hanging out in blue, ugh.
I've done that a couple of times. Not for that kind of length of time, maybe 20 minutes, but
Yeah, I gotta really want to go there, and that's if there's not a really spectacular wreck down there that I'm going to see, I'm out. I'm out. Like what? No, that's
it'd
not
be one of them, wouldn't it? Where you've someone's seen a blip on a sonar and you think that could be a wreck, and you go all the way down there to find it's a lump of rocks, and then you've got 3 hours before you can hit the surface, and you're like, oh no, devastating. Yeah.
No, that'd be awful. Yeah, no, I want to see pictures of it. I admire the guys that do that exploration, but not it. I want to know there's something really awesome down there.
Send someone else down. You do the second dive.
Right.
They can have the bell if it's there.
Yeah, it's all of. I mean, even just getting in all the gear, doing your pre-breathes and doing your checks, and you get your rebreather on, then you got to strap on the 80, and then you got to get the other 80, and you got to waddle your way over. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Yeah, it's got to be worth it.
I like what you've got written behind you there, clearly disguised as a responsible adult.
Oh yeah, yeah. That goes back to that reckless bit, right? People believe that they think you're so responsible. And
well, I jumped out of an airplane last year, first time. I'd always wanted to do a sort of skydive, and I was adamant it was never going to be tandem. I was never going to be strapped to someone. I was jumping out on my own.
Oh.
But the first time you do it, or first couple of times, you have to do it on a static line, so it pulls the cord for you. But literally, when she said go, I just went for it. And that's kind of a good example of how I live my life. It's not just recklessly jumping out. I've done all the training.
Right.
And I'd geared up to the excitement of doing it and wanting to do it. And there was enough fail-safes built in. If you hit 1,500 feet, it's got a thing that pops it, your reserve canopy anyway.
Awesome.
So even if I'd have knocked myself out on the way out,
it's still going to go.
Should do, yeah, it should do.
That's cool.
But I kind of think, well, if you build in all that resilience and that the redundancies, what really can go wrong short of just something that you can't account for?
Yeah, exactly.
Get on it and have fun. And
yeah. I get people saying that with the rebreather. Oh my God, that's so dangerous. People hurt themselves. It's like, yeah, people hurt themselves if they don't do what they were trained to do.
Yeah.
Follow your training. You don't get to dive that equipment and not go through your training. I mean, you've got to keep up with your skills, go through your checklists, and dive a good unit that you believe in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even diving with sharks, people say, but wasn't it about half a dozen people that got killed via shark attacks last year versus the 800 million sharks that we killed, or people got run over by a bus or whatever it might be?
Coconuts dropping on your head.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Way more dangerous than the sharks out there. The people that you hear that get hit by sharks, usually it's mistaken identity. They're either hanging on a surfboard and they look like a seal, right? Or they're spearfishing and they may have a stringer strapped to their hip. Well, you got dead fish on your hip.
Well, there was one. We dived with the oceanic white tips last year.
Oh, nice.
And they gave us a massive brief. Honestly, it was a good 40-minute brief showing you videos of shark attacks. Let's loosely call it that. But it was after they told you how you should behave in the water, where you should be in the water column, what you should and shouldn't do, your attitude or your positioning. And then they showed you this one guy who got attacked. And he was doing he had bright yellow fins on. He was kicking like mad as it was coming towards him. He was in a horizontal position, instead of hanging vertically, just kind of like that, looking at him. Yeah. So he did everything against the training. So is he to blame or is the shark to blame? I would suggest he is. Firstly, he's in their habitat and he's done everything that he's been told not to. So,
they're wild animals. Yeah, they're wild animals. It's not like Disney, cue the shark, right? Cute and cuddly. Yeah, no. Right, cute and training.
Yeah. Right, well, I'll not take up too much of your time because my dinner's ready in a minute and I'm sure you've got loads of alcohol to go and sniff and rub in your hands. Yeah. Oh, one last question. It's just come to me. I was thinking this before when we were talking about the alcohol gel. So I've just bought, this is purely for me, not so much for the podcast, but if it's warranted, it'll go out. So I've just bought some alcohol for my hand sanitizer in my van for work. And it's in like a big pump, top-up bottle kind of thing mounted in the inside of my cab. So every time I get back in, I can just have a quick squirt. And I was surprised at how liquid it was. You know, it kind of sprayed everywhere. But it rubs in really well, and it's not dead greasy. Whereas all the other stuff I've ever encountered that comes in a bottle you've got to shake into your hands is like a gel.
Yeah.
Is there a difference? And is one better for the world than the other?
Yeah, I believe that the liquid is definitely better for the world than a gel would be. Most gels are made with carbomer. So if you read the ingredients, it either says carbomer or acrylates copolymer, which are both plasticizer ingredients.
Right.
So that's what gives it that gel structure. But again, plasticizer, those are microplastics. We don't need them. It's just what we're used to.
Yeah.
So the one that you're using, you know, put a sprayer on it, or just be cautious. Don't put a whole bunch out. But yeah, I think it's way better to have the liquid than the gel. We have both. You know, we do a gel because people want it, but our gel is made with guar and xanthan, which doesn't have as much body as the carbomer microplastics will. So if you use it, it might be a little less jelly than what you're used to. And maybe that's what you've got in your van there.
Yeah.
It's one that's a little bit better for the planet.
Well, at least I'm doing my bit.
Absolutely.
If one more person's doing their bit, then that's one more in it. Happy days.
Absolutely. Every drop adds up.
Right. I do appreciate you giving up a bit of your working day, not so much even your free time, but this is your working day, so I do appreciate it massively.
Well, enjoy your supper.
I'll try.
You for the time. Yeah.
Will you enjoy the rest of your day, mate? I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Nice talking to you too.
Ta-ra.
Thanks, Ian.
Mega.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
That brings us to an end of episode 19 with my friend Autumn Blum, and links to all the things we discussed in the podcast notes. My guest for episode 20 is Dr. Lauren Smith. She talks about her work as a shark scientist and her new mobile pizza oven business. You've been listening to Are You a Scuba Diver? Fancy a Brew podcast with me, Andy the Northern Diver. You can find more scuba related content on my YouTube channel, and the link is in the podcast notes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing, giving us a 5-star review, and if there's someone or something you'd like us to discuss, let us know via our Facebook page. Thanks for listening. See you on the next one.